I don't preach that this show is, factual or in the news. So this is a show for people to have fun.
That's fair.
Um, speak. So let's talk about the track system in schools.
Oh my god.
The perfect segue. um,
Uh,
so there was this whole thing back in the. I'm sure we're, millennials all, averaging in our 30s. So, I mean,
we're not.
I'm 28. Yeah, I know. I turned 29 this year, and then like my birthday's at the end of the year. So like by the time like I actually settle into my age, I already feel like it's
27. You're 27. That's our family motto. What's your 27? You turn 27 every year after.
I'm 27.
There you go.
So, um, excuse me. Whoa, that was a nice one.
It's the beer.
Yeah, lay off that for a moment. The track system. Our parents grew up with this whole idea that there was, A track, B track, C track. A track was for smart kids. B track was for, the middle kids. C track was for dumb kids. So in theory, this whole, system was put out of place. So, in theory, in the schooling we grew up with, I think there was definitely evidence that that model still existed. And that was something that irked me because that was something I visibly saw in my schooling growing up, and I pointed out to my teachers all the time. And sometimes they'd either criticize me or they'd realize I was seeing through the veil and actually encouraged me to, you know, we'll just switch tracks. Because for the most part, I figured I was probably actually on the B track growing up, which was, just the middling track.
I think everyone here was probably on the B track.
It's what it's all sometimes it's depending on the student. Like, of course, you may not be good at like taking tests or stuff like that, but you may like know your stuff. So it's
Well, again, when we went,
I guess they exist for a reason, but sometimes they just put people
we went
in
to
places where
California public schools, so if you weren't succeeding academically, you weren't succeeding. Like there wasn't like an alternative. It wasn't like skills was something being taught in our schools is like something that everyone should learn, and definitely the idea of like labor and hard work was something that was almost looked down upon in the public schools we went to. Well, or at least that's what I always felt, because there was always this whole you don't want to do this, you want to be like a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer growing up. It's like, well, you're not telling kids that they can be making bank as dock workers or as starting construction businesses, making a fuck ton of money plumbing, and you weren't teaching them those skills either.
Yeah, and all that stuff is like you don't need like a prestigious college education for you. All you have to do is really just like graduate. So they didn't really give options for the B or the C. It's really just like all the like top jobs were like something like an A track student would get. But they didn't really like provide options for other people who like you're not as
Which I think those classes were there, but for the most part, we kind of saw them as like the
dumb K class.
Like they get like there was auto shop and like, but no one was like taking auto shop seriously, like they were gonna be a mechanic or anything.
There was home ec and stuff like that at the school, but like the counselors kind of actively discouraged students from taking those classes.
They encouraged them towards academics,
which I don't know how much of that was affected by the No Child Left Behind Act. That took place in 2001.
And again, a lot of things, I'm sure, a lot of it comes down to money and funding. How many students do you have in what programs? All this stuff. But again, like there was honors classes and advanced placement class, AP classes. So that was clearly, those were all the students that were on the A track. And there's programs that reached out to all these smarter students. And there was GATE, gifted and talented education. So that's straight up, you grabbed a whole crop full of students and you said you guys are going to be the smart students in the district, because this was a district program. This was kids that were all grabbed from like the first 2 hours of school, and they were taught cooler and better shit than any of us, and they were taught how to like hone creativity and skills. And when kids that we ever got this.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you just make this the norm? But again, you couldn't make that the norm because teachers were all just, assholes that gave up on their path. I'm like, all right, well, I can try and help these students do better.
Maybe try.
Well, that's me being optimistic about teachers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it's just like, there's like there's a handful of like good teachers, in the bunch, but then there's some just pretty much just like there, and then
That's definitely, I think, kind of where like this whole track thing comes to mind, because again, that's how I knew, that's how I kind of saw the veil of there was this whole track system.
Some of those C track classes though were fun as hell.
I took a this nice little C track thing in 8th grade, but that's when it even started, because there was like the Avid program.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I straight up slammed a teacher because I was
an Avid.
There was an 8th grade period where everyone or not 8th grade, yeah, during 8th grade it was like the end of the day period, and everyone split up into their groups, and these were essentially more track groups. So there was kids with Avid programs, and these were like the B low A kids that the ones that were pretty consistent. More like
BC.
Yeah, BC. They were the ones that were consistent, and these kids have a chance to get to college. And I straight up told a teacher, why are you giving all these students these skills and trying to prep them instead of doing that for everyone? And she's like, well, why don't you just join the program? Well, and now that I'm thinking about it, and I just said it out loud, like, join the program. Well, fuck you. This program sucks. I want it to change. Mm-hmm. I want everyone to have these skills and to be prepped.
Yeah.
And because you decided some kids are now they're too stupid for us to put in the effort.
It's just like, I was pretty, it was for like average students, so, and they would do a lot for these.
But it was to try and get them to, encourage them to
give them the care,
to go to that next, to get to that next level. They want to help them get that brass ring.
I guess it was like potential or whatever. They seen, kids that saw potential in, but couldn't get them the care about the work or whatever. And I remember.
Annika, you've been awfully silent.
Oh, I'm just trying to hold off sneezes.
I remember, I was in Avid from 7th to like 9th grade, and then it was just like, I just kind of just started slacking in school and like homework and shit. It's like,
But then you kind of saw, it's like, this is how is
bullshit.
This helping me?
And at the end, exactly. It's not really like helping me. So,
and these are California public schools we're talking about.
Well, and you and I talked about it before, where a lot of the A-track kids were like in the AP classes, and there was teachers that were trying to get all their B and C students onto that A-track because it would help them in the long run, but yeah, skills weren't being taught.
I had a teacher that full on told me, you have really good grades. You could be on the 4-year track. And again, he full on said track. Like, it's a track system. That's what we were all on.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you just teach everyone this instead of just like, making a track. Don't you want everyone at the same level? But I get it. Some people.
Well, like we talked about it, like they didn't.
You can't get everyone into it, so
Did you ever take any of the SATs or the the other one, the ACT?
No, I never took any of those.
Okay, because they never told us when they were, right?
That and it's
and we didn't know how to because they never explained that to any of the students of how to actually take that. It was kind of something
about it a lot.
They would mention it, but they wouldn't tell you any specifics or what you needed to do to get to go sign up and do it.
Like how that test went, or like
it's like they kind of just expected you to figure it out on your own, which is fine. I think a lot of it was they assumed that your parents would help you, but if you were from at the area that we were in, which is some working class, diverse lower income community, a lot of our parents didn't go to college. So they don't know when to do any of the. I'm like, and that's not to say that's every person that lived there, but like there was a huge chunk of kids that they would have been the first to go to college.
Well,
and so they didn't know how to apply for any
and
of
even
that stuff.
like I know a lot of the attitude, and I've heard this sentiment from I've heard the parents say this, and I've heard, and this is a really toxic, civil behavior, which is that it's an authority's job to cultivate social behavior, and to bear that down to the actual incident, which is this was parents that were thinking it was the school's job to teach their kids how to be good citizens and to be good people. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, no, that's your job. And I heard, teachers time after time, well, it's your job to, no, it's not. It's not the teacher's job to teach your kid how to be a good person.
Mm. Yeah.
And now I think that's the issue that we're kind of seeing in schools today is schools have taken up that role of, well, now it is our job to teach these students how to be good people.
And people aren't liking it.
Yeah.
Or at least people that pay attention aren't necessarily.
Well, and again, it's and what is good people, and again is not hating people is, probably a pretty good thing, but how do you go about that? And again, should a program that relies on something like a track system, no matter what, even when it says it's not, is that really the best place for social engineering children's behavior?
No.